Hello, my little triglets. Welcome to section 10.3. 10.3 is parabolas. It is the last of our conic sections that we're going to talk about. And you've actually heard of parabolas before. You've done quite an extensive amount of problem solving in Algebra 2 with this. So hopefully this won't be too difficult. I'm going to throw a couple extra little twists in there for you, a little more knowledge. So the general form of a parabola is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. In this form, the c is your y-intercept. In order to find the vertex, you need to do negative b over 2a. That gets you the x part of your vertex, which is just a point. Remember, it's your high or low point. And to get the x, then you substitute that back in to get y. Okay, so that's something that you've done in the past. Then we have what we call standard form. Standard form is with parentheses. It's y equals a x minus h squared plus k. The a tells you whether it opens, that's right, opens up or down. If it opens up, it's a plus, down would be a minus sign. It also tells you whether it's wide or narrow. And actually the smaller numbers make it wider and the larger numbers make it narrow. The H right here makes it move right or left. It moves to the right when you see a minus sign, and it moves to the left when you see a plus sign. And just like a lot of other things, when you have parentheses involved, it's opposite of what you think when you look at the sign. K is either up or down, and the up is your plus, the down is your minus. Okay, so if you see that x and y have been switched, a switch to x and y means it's going to be a sideways parabola, and that's kind of the new twist. You haven't done much with that. Another form that you might see, another form that's considered standard but a little bit different, is x minus h squared on this side, and then the a y minus k on the other side. Okay, or it could be a sideways one where the y is squared, and then you have x minus h in this one. Notice that the k is always with the y, and the x is always with the h, no matter which way it goes. Okay, if it's in this form, you can find h and k just by looking at it. You know, if I wanted to know the vertex, I would just look at these two, but make sure you put them in the right order, because this one, the h is first and the k is second. All right, so, or you can get it into standard form. You can just isolate one of the terms to do that. Graphing, let's look at that. If I wanted to graph y equals 3x minus 2 squared plus 4, first thing you want to do is look for your vertex. That's this and this. So my vertex is 2, 4. So I'm going to go over to my grid, go over 2 and up 4, and plot a point. Now because this is positive, I know that the graph is going to open upward. So, and the x is the one that's squared. If this is squared, that means it's going to be an up and down graph. If the y is squared, if you have y squared equals x, then that's going to be a sideways graph. Okay, but we know that it's going to be up and down. To find two more points, you want to pick symmetric to the vertex. Okay, because it just makes the math easier. So if I have a point at 2, 4, maybe I want to pick 2 to the right of that and 2 to the left of that for my x value. So I want to pick at 4 and 0. So put in a 4 and a 0 here. So then what you do is you put in a 4 3 times 4 minus 2 squared plus 4. So that would be 2 squared is 4. That'd be 12 plus 4. So that's 16. Then you want to put in a 0. Now if you did it right, you should get the same answer. So 0 minus 2 squared plus 4. Negative 2 squared is still 4. 3 times 4 gives you the 12, so you still have 16. So the math is easier because it's symmetric and they should come out to the same answer. So 4, let's see, I'm going to have to make my graph way up here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So we go over 4 and 0, and my new parabola, my beautiful parabola, should look something like that. Okay, so you find your vertex first, and then you have to pick 2 more points and pick them symmetrically, and it will be easy. Also, you might be asked to find the axis of symmetry. Okay, the axis of symmetry. That's basically the line that cuts it down the middle. It's the symmetric line. And you have to say x equals. So whatever x is at that line, you just say x equals 2. Okay. The 16 is your y-intercept in this case, and we found it by plotting it, but if you FOIL this out, you can get it into ax squared plus bx plus c, and this c would end up being 16. So different forms have different values to them, different pluses and minuses. So it all kind of works together one way or another. All right, let's look at this equation here. So y squared plus 2y plus 12x minus 23 equals 0. We know it's a parabola because we have one square and one regular x, okay? And we know it's sideways because the y is the one that's squared. Okay, so those are some things you have to pay attention to. Now I want to get it in standard form because it's easier to graph from standard form. So let's try it. So I need to complete the square. So let's put the y's next to each other. So y squared plus 2y plus blank. And then everything else I'm going to bring to the other side. So I have negative 12x and plus 23. So right here, cut the 2 in half, you get 1. Square it, I still get 1. And so I need to add a 1 to the right side as the other blank. So this is what I end up getting, negative 12x plus 24. Now I want to factor out a negative 12 because that becomes my a. And then I get x minus 2, so I get x minus h. So now I have it in that one standard form, the second one that we wrote. So you can get your h and k, you can get your vertex. Now remember, h is with x, k is with y. Alphabetically, x comes before y. Alphabetically, h comes before k. So my vertex is not negative 1, 2. It's 2, negative 1. So be very careful that you do that in the right order. Don't just assume it's left to right. Okay, if I'm going to graph it, let's put in our 2, negative 1. And then I'm going to pick some points. Now, because we know this is sideways, because of that, I'm not picking the x's. I'm actually going to choose y. So we're going to choose y values to put in there. So up and down from this, you know, if I want to go 2 up and 2 down, maybe I want to pick 1, I'll put an x there, and negative 3. That's symmetrically up and down. So let's try that. So if I put a 1 in for y, let's go back to this formula. You could do either of these two. This one looks pretty easy. So if y equals 1, I get, let me get more space here. I get 1 plus 1 squared equals negative 12x plus 24. So I get 2 squared, which is 4, equals negative 12x plus 24. And then I want to subtract 24. So I get negative 20 equals negative 12x. And then I want to divide by negative 12. So 20 divided by 12, if I divide them both by 4, I get 5/3. Okay, so my point here is 5/3. So if I go 5/3, which is just under 2, and then up to 1, my point would be here. Now I should get the same thing again. So I'm not going to bother going through the math, but you should get the same thing again. So if I go over 5/3 again and down to 3, negative 3, it's right there. So my parabola looks something like this. Okay. Now there's not a lot of difference here in left and right, so you might want to pick bigger numbers, maybe 2 and negative 4. The farther apart they are, the more accurate your drawing is going to be. Okay, so those are pretty much all the facts you need for parabolas. Just remember y squared is going to be a sideways. And notice one little thing, this is negative. That's why we're opening left. Opens left. If that was positive, it would open right. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's it for parabolas, and that actually is it for chapter 10. Trig love is all around. All you got to do is grab it. Ta-ta.